All right, we're about to jump into a topic that, let's be honest, really pushes back on our traditional ideas of what makes a relationship work and what it truly takes to build a strong, lasting bond.
It's a huge paradox, right? I mean, the whole idea seems to fly in the face of everything we've ever been taught about love and commitment. But what if there's a side to this story we're not seeing?
Because here's the thing, when you actually dig into the psychological studies and hear from the couples who navigate this, a completely different and frankly surprising picture starts to form. So let's get into what the evidence really says. So the first big idea here, and maybe the most important one, is how this dynamic can spark a total revolution in how a couple communicates and what they understand trust to be.
I mean, really think about it. In so many relationships, we kind of dance around the difficult subjects, our deepest sexual fantasies, our biggest insecurities, those quiet desires we never say out loud. But with this, that's just not an option. It forces partners to lay all their cards on the table with a level of openness most couples might never, ever reach.
And this quote from someone who's actually been there, it just nails it, doesn't it? That forced honesty stops being a scary task and actually becomes the doorway to a whole new kind of closeness. The real magic is that the skills they're building, like really listening, clearly stating what they need, and working through tough emotions, they don't just stay in those conversations. They spill over and make the entire relationship stronger. And what this does is it completely flips the script on what we think trust even is. We so often get trust mixed up with control, right? The idea that if we limit our partner's choices, we'll feel more secure. But real, deep trust, that's what's built when your partner has total freedom and they still choose you. They still choose to honor their commitments. That is incredibly powerful. And get this, the data actually backs this up, which might be a little shocking. A study back in 2017 found that people in consensually non-monogamous relationships, or CNM, which is just an umbrella term for any setup where partners agree to have other partners, they actually reported more trust and less jealousy than monogamous couples. It just turns that whole assumption that non-monogamy kills trust completely on its head. Okay, but what about the elephant in the room? Jealousy. How on earth do people deal with that? Well, let's get into the psychological heart of it and see how this process can build these incredibly strong bonds, usually by changing the very nature of jealousy itself. It all comes down to this really cool concept called compersion. It's basically the polar opposite of jealousy. The best way to think about it is that warm, happy feeling you get when you see your partner totally lit up with joy about something that has nothing to do with you. It's that unselfish happiness for them, but applied to their other romantic or sexual experiences. So instead of love and pleasure being this limited resource where if they get a piece, you get less, compersion creates a mindset of abundance. Your partner's happiness doesn't take away from yours. It actually adds to it. It creates this amazing feedback loop, this upward spiral of good feelings in the relationship. Now, let's be real, jealousy doesn't just poof, disappear. But here's the game-changing part. The skill these couples learn is to reframe it. So instead of seeing jealousy as a threat that makes you want to control everything or just shut down, it becomes information. It becomes a little red flag signaling, hey, there's an insecurity here we need to talk about, or maybe we need to revisit a boundary. It becomes a tool for growth. And honestly, that's a superpower we could all probably use in any relationship. And all of this emotional heavy lifting, well, it often leads to some pretty incredible personal growth, with some really unexpected payoffs for both the people involved and the relationship itself. First off, let's just get one thing straight. This isn't some weird niche thing. Just look at these numbers. We're talking about roughly 60% of men and a third of women fantasizing about this. It is way, way more common than most of us think. And for a lot of people, actually exploring this with consent becomes a way to bring a ton of new life back into their own intimacy. And here's the part that really blows people's minds. The biggest sexual benefits often happen back home, in the primary relationship. Couples talk about having hotter, more adventurous sex. A lot of women report feeling this massive surge in confidence and empowerment. And when you take away that pressure to be each other's one and only, paradoxically, it can make you want each other even more. But honestly, it goes so much deeper than just sex. We're talking about a fundamental shift in your sense of self. This kind of dynamic makes you look your deepest insecurities square in the eye. Am I good enough? What makes me valuable? And forces you to build a sense of self-worth that's solid on its own, not propped up by sexual exclusivity. It's a journey that can be unbelievably empowering. And check out this chart. This is what people in these relationships actually say are the top benefits. And the number one, At 61%, it's not what you think. It's having a bigger social network. And right behind that are more honesty, personal freedom, and more emotional support. That just completely shatters the stereotype that this is all just about sex.
Okay, so after hearing all of that, you might be thinking, wow, this sounds amazing. But we need to pump the brakes here for a second. This is so important. This is not, I repeat, not a magic fix for a relationship that's already in trouble. In fact, trying to use it that way is a recipe for disaster. So if you're even a little bit curious, you have to be brutally honest with yourself. Just look at this breakdown. It's a game of two halves. On one side, this can be incredible if you've already got a rock-solid foundation, if both of you are genuinely enthusiastic, and if your communication is top-notch. But on the other side, it will almost certainly break things if you're trying to patch up old problems, if one person is feeling pressured, or if you haven't dealt with your own anxieties first. So for anyone who is on solid ground and thinking, maybe, the experts are really clear. You have to do this the right way. It all starts with that radical, open communication. Then you've got to do your homework together, learn everything you can. And if you decide to move forward, it has to be slow. We're talking baby steps, with constant check-ins and always putting the health of your primary relationship first. It's a lot of work, but it can also be deeply rewarding. So when you boil it all down, what's the big takeaway here? It's that this whole experience forces you to redefine what commitment even means. It separates commitment from just being sexually exclusive. And instead, you have to build your bond on a foundation of emotional loyalty, shared values, and that intense honesty we've been talking about. And that really leaves all of us with a pretty big question to chew on, doesn't it? If you strip away all the assumptions, what does commitment, real commitment, truly mean to you?